We've been covering on a essentially nightly basis the evolution of the Trump administration's extremely controversial treatment of the Epstein files, which was central to the discourse of right-wing and MAGA politics over the last 4 years. And the Trump administration shocked and angered, especially their own followers, when out of the blue, they sent a memo to Axios, of all places, announcing that the DOJ and FBI had concluded their investigation. There was nothing here to see at all. They were closing the investigation and they would release no further documents, meaning they wouldn't have released a single document, not even one token one, that wasn't previously available. And we reported on and showed you the video where Trump at the White House, when asked about the one issue they've never addressed, which is Epstein working with a foreign intelligence agency. They asked it to Pam Bondi, and before she could answer, he wouldn't let her answer. He interjected and said, "How dare you talk about something so trivial? Move on. We have way more important things to talk about than some weird creep who died 5 years ago." Oh yeah, this is totally irrelevant. But his most prominent supporters, and huge millions of them, were feeding for the last 4 years on the claim that this was not just relevant and important, but essential to understanding the rot at the heart of the globalist order, and that the Biden administration had in its possession enormous amounts of documents extremely incriminating about many of the world's most powerful people that they were concealing to protect the world's most powerful predators. And Trump officials who now run the FBI and DOJ and other agencies came into office campaigning on a promise, as did J.D. Vance and even Donald Trump, to finally bring transparency to this. And so to just tell them all of a sudden, oh, this thing that you've been talking about for 4 years that your most trusted pundits and journalists have been telling you is so vital, that we've been saying is so vital. J.D. Vance made a huge deal out of it. Donald Trump Jr. did. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, long list. Everything they've been telling you about how crucial this is, the documents are so incriminating, the Biden administration is disgracefully hiding it. Never mind, forget all that. This is not even relevant. Who cares about Jeffrey Epstein? People other than the most drooling, subservient, partisan supporters of Trump are not going to accept that, and they haven't. And as a result, Trump keeps having to go back to it, even though he said, I'm not talking about this anymore. Don't ask me about it. It's too insignificant. His base is riled up over this. It's become a very significant controversy, arguably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, of the Trump administration thus far. And it's kind of a Frankenstein that they created by spending so many years banging the table saying only corrupt protectors of pedophiles like the Biden officials would hide these documents. And now they're hiding them, even denying in some senses that they exist. And so Trump has repeatedly gone back. He keeps making it worse. And now he has spun this incredibly nonsensical conspiracy theory that it's the Democrats who created the Epstein files, who forged them, who fabricated them. And that as a result, he says, anybody demanding release of the Epstein files, something that he promised to do, that J.D. Vance promised to do, that all these people promised to do, that anyone demanding that is a selfish person playing into the hands of the radical left by demanding the disclosure of documents that he says were faked, like the Russiagate investigation was, by all these Democrats. Clearly eager to convince the public, you don't need to see these documents, and even if you did, the things in them, don't believe them, they're fake. Why would Trump be so incentivized to convince the public that the information contained in the Epstein files, which first the Trump administration summarily announced they were going to conceal, why would he be so interested in convincing them that they're fake? What's in those documents that he wants the public to disbelieve? Here he is speaking outside the White House, standing next to his press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, earlier today.
On Epstein, the Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on
what? On the
DOJ and FBI review.
On what subject?
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed you on that.
Very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she say about the review? And specifically, did she tell you that her name appeared in the
No, she's...
So the question was, in case you didn't hear, there were a lot of noises going on. It's outside the White House. Did Pam Bondi give you a briefing on what's in these documents, and did she happen to mention whether your name appears in any of the documents? And here's what Trump said.
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
Now, that is a little bit of a shift rhetorically, because the FBI and DOJ's announcement originally was, we're closing the investigation, there's no further disclosures. And when Trump was asked about it at the White House, he said, this is just, leave me alone, I don't want to hear about this, this is too irrelevant. Pam Bondi answered the question about whether Epstein worked for a foreign intelligence agency by saying, I don't know. I have no knowledge of that. I never thought about that before. We'll get back to you. Now he's saying she's going to release credible information, which means that there's some documents that Trump regards as non-credible, faked by Obama. And when did, by the way, Obama fake these documents? Jeffrey Epstein was arrested during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. And that's when he supposedly killed himself in 2018. So the origin of this investigation would have been under Donald Trump. How did Obama fabricate documents in the Epstein file, and to what end? If Jim Comey and John Brennan and Obama and Hillary had fabricated documents, altered these documents, inserted stuff about, I don't know, about Trump or his associates, why would they do that if they didn't release it? It only makes sense to do that if you're then going to release it and say, oh, look, here's the Epstein files, here's Trump's name, or here's Mitch McConnell's name, or whatever. And then Trump would say, no, those are forged. Why would the Democrats forge documents and leave them there, not release them? How does that make any sense? When could they have forged them? When did Hillary and Jim Comey and Brennan have the ability to access the Epstein files? And what's the basis for this? Why is this only being claimed now? Why is Trump so eager to convince his base and the public, look, there's documents in there that you don't need to see? Not the ones about Epstein having sex with kids on video or the child pornography they say he downloaded. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody cares about that. Nobody's asking for that. And this isn't something that Trump just came up with today. This is clearly a conspiracy theory he's decided to disseminate. Here on Truth Social, after he told everybody to move on, not talk about it anymore, and his supporters continued to do it anyway for the reasons I said, he went on Truth Social and said this, quote, what's going on with my boys, and in some cases gals? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're all on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. So he called the people who are asking for disclosure of the Epstein files selfish. And then this is what he said. You see the part in blue right here. This is amazing. This is that same conspiracy theory that he enunciated today. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and the losers and criminals of the Biden administration, who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? They created the Epstein files. Just like they created the fake Hillary Clinton, Christopher Steele dossier that they used on me, and now my so-called friends are playing right into their hands. Now, is anyone who's a Trump supporter going to believe this? That after spending 4 years saying the Epstein files hold the key to everything, accusing the Biden administration of protecting pedophiles by refusing to release it, they're now going to believe that, oh, these documents were written by He says the files were, they created the Epstein files, meaning Hillary and Obama. Does anyone believe this? Trump seems very eager to me to say, we're not going to release certain files because some of it contains information that's false. What information is that he's so eager to convince Americans were fabricated by Obama and Hillary and Biden? That didn't come from nowhere. He's very interested in making sure that people believe that. I don't think he's going to get very far. Here's the first polling data on what Trump is doing with Epstein. It's from Morning Consult. And it came out today, and the headline is, Few Americans trust the DOJ's conclusions on Jeffrey Epstein. And then here you see the two questions they asked. The percentage of voters who believe the Justice Department is being honest and transparent by saying, first, there's no evidence of a client list or blackmail scheme involving Epstein and prominent people. And here you see in blue, this is the percentage of Americans who believe the Justice Department's claim on that. Only 25% of voters overall. And amazingly, the group that most believes what the Justice Department says, there's no client list, there's no evidence of blackmail, are Republicans. If you had taken this poll a year earlier, 6 months earlier, Republicans were the ones saying, no, there's huge amounts of incriminating evidence there that the Biden administration is hiding. Now suddenly, it's Republicans who believe the Justice Department's claim. But note, this is the no, the pink here. More Republicans disbelieve the Justice Department than believe it. There's the Trump Justice Department, and 41% of Republicans say they don't believe the Justice Department when they say there's no evidence of a client list or blackmail scheme involving Epstein and prominent people. Only 35% believe it. But look at independents. 54% of independents say they do not believe the Justice Department is being honest. Only 18% say they believe the Trump Justice Department. And Democrats, 60% say they don't believe the Trump Justice Department. Only 20% say they believe the Trump Justice Department. And overall, the breakdown is 51% of all Americans say no, they don't believe the Trump administration's claims about this, and only 25% believe it. They asked the same question, do you trust the Justice Department when they say that Epstein committed suicide in prison in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges? Again, it's Republicans who now, amazingly, it's Republicans who most believe that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. 40% of them believe the Justice Department is being honest about that. Only 37% believe they're not. But overall, 35% of voters believe when the Justice Department says Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. 42% believe they're not being honest. So you see already a lot of Republicans have shifted to the point where Republicans are now the ones who are most dismissive of the Epstein files. Nothing to see, he killed himself, move on. But still, huge numbers of people do not believe the Justice Department on this. And why would they? They've heard for years and years and years the opposite of this. Here's data for Progress. Polling on Trump's handling of the Epstein files. Republicans who have heard a lot about the Epstein files disapprove of the Trump administration's handling of them. So of the Republicans who have heard a lot about what Trump administration is saying, huge numbers don't believe it. So here's the top list. People who say they've heard a lot about the Epstein files. And the question is, do you approve or disapprove of how the Trump administration has handled the release of these files? Only 20% of Republicans say they approve. 20% said they somewhat approve. 36% say they strongly disagree, and 19% say they somewhat disapprove. So even just among Republicans who have heard a lot about the Epstein files, 55% disapprove of how the Trump administration has handled this, compared to only 40% who approve. That's Republicans. Now, that's really bad news. Not just for this specific issue, but for the broader promise of the Trump administration that they were going to cleanse the government of what was, in fact, these frauds that the Biden administration perpetrated on Russiagate, which was really Obama, but his CIA, and lying about the Hunter Biden laptop files being Russian disinformation, about the Steele dossier, about COVID. People have come to distrust the government, and it's a major reason why they turned to Trump, who vowed to provide all this transparency, to be honest with the public about what's happening, regardless of where the chips might fall. And when the public says, including Republicans, we don't believe Trump and the Justice Department and what they're saying about Jeffrey Epstein, it's not just about Jeffrey Epstein, it's about the loss of trust that the Trump administration had about whether they would be any different, or whether they would just be the same old, as the entire DC political class constantly lies and deceives and covers up. And once people think that about you, and this is an issue that they heard a lot about, not from the New York Times and NBC News, but from Trump world over the last 4 years, once that trust is gone, it is extremely difficult to get back. It's like if someone in your life who you trust, you catch them lying about something really important. That trust is fractured, if not broken. It's very difficult, if not impossible, for that person to earn it back. Because you've proven you're willing to lie about something important. Why wouldn't you again? That's what's happening with the Trump administration. And the fact that Donald Trump is now resorting to this utterly insane, deranged conspiracy theory that I don't think anyone's going to believe, that it was the Democrats that created the Epstein files, as he said verbatim, and that a lot of the information there is fake, and they fabricated it, leaves a lot of people wondering why Trump is suddenly so interested in convincing the public not to believe the Epstein files, even if they do one day get disclosed through whatever mechanism the public comes to learn about them. If you're still tossing and turning all night and feeling edgy during the day, which I know a lot of people are, a lot of data shows that, let me tell you about CBD from CB Distillery. Millions of people are turning to their CBD for relief because it works. In fact, over 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. And it's not just sleep. CBD Distillery offers targeted formulations for just about everything that many doctors will just pour pharmaceutical products on you in order to address. Sleep, stress, mood, focus, pain after exercise. They even have CBD for pets. It's all clean, made with the highest quality natural ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. I've talked before about how I use their pain stick. When I play tennis, I just get some pain in my wrist and I just put the pain stick on it. It's in my tennis bag and the pain subsides almost immediately. I don't feel it for the rest of the day. I've heard several stories now for, instead of giving kids Ritalin for attention deficit disorder or hyperactivity, doctors are prescribing CBD as a much more natural and more effective means of doing that, so you don't drug and medicate people. You use the Earth's natural ingredients in order to treat them. With over 2 million satisfied customers and 100% money-back guarantee, CB Distillery is the source to trust. If you're struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concern and haven't found relief, make the change like millions are to CB from CB Distillery. And for a limited time, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB Distillery and use promo code Glenn. That's cbdistillery.com, promo code Glenn. cbdistillery.com. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.